So most people researching buy-to-let right now are thinking save 40k, buy a house, rent it out, make 300, 400, maybe £500 profit per month. Start building wealth. That plan used to work. It doesn't work the same today. And to be honest, being a landlord this year is probably the most hardest and the most stressful way to make money in property. And if you're about to tie up £40,000 of your savings in your first buy-to-let property, watch this video because it might just save you years of stress, debt, regulations, and disappointment. So let me show you the truth about being a landlord now. So yeah, the upfront investment is brutal. You can't sugarcoat it. It's heavy. If you're looking at getting started into a buy-to-let, you need at least 30, 40, 50,000 pounds to get one property. And that's a deposit of 25 to 35%. That doesn't even include stamp duty, legal fees, broker fees, valuation, mortgage fees, the refurb, the furnishing, and contingency. Minimum of 40 to 60,000 tied up in one property that might make £500 profit. Does that even make sense to you? It might have 10 years ago, because £500 was a lot of money back then. I say back then like it was decades ago. Now you do very well to get £500 on a buy-to-let. You're looking at about £200-300 on average across the UK. It's terrible. And if one boiler goes wrong, boom, there goes a year's worth of profits gone. So the interest rates went sky high. They went right up. Buy-to-let rates are still far from where they were. Landlords who fixed their mortgage at 1.8% for like 5 years and now renewing at like 4, 5, sometimes even 6%. And that just leads to a lot less cash flow. Your profit disappears. Stress rises, rent needs to rise, tenants get squeezed, government blames landlords, landlords blames government. It's a lose-lose situation. Nobody wins. Section 24 absolutely killed the small-time landlord. Under the Tories government, they removed the mortgage interest tax relief. They removed it. This made being a landlord pretty much impossible. So for example, if your mortgage was £900 and your rental income was £1,100, so you'd be taxed on £1,100 as if that's the profit, when in theory the £200 is profit. That absolutely crushed normal landlords. It completely removed the incentive to buy properties in a personal name and drove everybody to put properties in a limited company. Why did they do that? What was the real agenda behind doing that? Clearly they knew people would move to a limited company, and there's obviously a lot of tax implications to move personal property to a limited company. You have to prove you are actively running a business, not just treating that one house as additional income. Very annoying. So to enable to do that, there's more cost, more accounting, more complexity, less profit. Simple as that. Is, yeah, being a landlord sucks. And then Labour has come in and made it even more hostile. So they pushed extremely hard on the renters reform. So now there's longer notice periods, more licensing, more compliance, more penalties, more enforcement, more paperwork, more power to tenants, and clearly less protection for landlords. So Labour positioned the landlords clearly to blame. Landlords are always to blame, right? It's always their fault. That is the whole UK agenda. If you're poor, you look at landlords like they're dirty rich people. Yet they're supplying the shortage of housing. They're investing money into doing up properties, making them suitable to live in. Families come and rent them. Councils have now increased licensing fees. Getting a license for a HMO is even harder. Single lets at a lot lower yield. And buy-to-let is basically now just a charity. And what I'm seeing a common theme of is on Rightmove, a lot of houses now are advertised for only social housing. It makes you think, have they done all of this to make it harder for landlords, but it's not actually harder for landlords? Because landlords aren't just going to be like, yeah, okay, I'll take lower profit. They're going to push the rents up to make the gap. So the rents are going to go up. So everybody watching the budget, and if you're a tenant or you're on minimum wage thinking, yeah, tax the rich, and then they bring this in and it's like, yeah, we've made it more expensive for landlords, they're going to be cheering. But no, landlords will just raise the rents. Every single landlord will just raise the rents. You guys are going to be paying for it. If you're renting a room, you're paying the difference, not the landlord. So in theory, the Labour government they've increased your minimum wage to £10.80 or £10.85, and they've just increased your rent if you're renting a room indirectly through the landlords, but you don't see that. So you're gonna have a lot more landlords doing serviced accommodation, running their houses as Airbnbs. So there's a lot more properties advertised for like social housing. I'm seeing also that when speaking to estate agents, they're a lot more open to working with companies. Even in their adverts, they're more open to working with companies. Why is that? Because the rent reform bill. Landlords are so fed up of being the one screwed over. Tenants have got more rights. That's it really. It's tough being a landlord. So yeah, you're basically running a charity now. So you're spending a lot of money, right? You've got £40,000 sat in one property now. You can't just easily pull that out either. So that means you can't scale very fast. Even if you refinance that property, that's going to take time. And when you eventually build equity, it takes years to access that as well. But if you lock your money away in a savings account, inflation will eat that up. This part alone is just getting very serious now. So non-paying tenants, evictions that take months, property damage, antisocial behavior, solicitors, court paperwork, council coaching tenants to stay for free. That's mad. So you issue a section 21, it gets to the 2 months, and then the councils are saying, you know, just stay on a little bit longer. Insurance premiums going up. Zero accountability for the tenant, full risk and responsibility for the landlord. Yet, if you're a landlord, you still get called greedy. Right, I'm just gonna list these out, okay? So you got the right to rent, you got EPC requirements, you got electrical safety, you got smoke alarm checks, licensing, selective licensing, HMO licensing, planning permission, Article 4 restrictions, rent caps in some cities, future energy upgrade costing tens of thousands, EPC changes. I'm working with a landlord right now, he's got a property for sale, but he can't even rent it out because it doesn't even meet EPC, but he can't do it because it's a grade 1 listing building. So he's absolutely stuck. And every year brings new rules. You might meet a new EPC and then they tighten it, and then you've got tens of thousands to spend again meeting the new spec. They just change the rules as and when they want you to spend money. So I'm not saying it's all doom and gloom being a landlord. There are obviously upsides. You're going to get the appreciation of the value of the property, but across 10, 15, 20 years. So you might build equity. But that equity and that wealth isn't going to pay for your situation today. This video is aimed at if you're thinking about getting into buy-to-let and you're currently in full-time employment, you shouldn't be doing it to build wealth in the future and pass a legacy down, because it does not replace your job. It doesn't give you freedom in 12 months time. Buy-to-let is slow, painfully slow. The old idea of buying properties to get rich is dead. So you've got void periods, repairs, market crashes, interest rate hikes, regulation changes, legal cases, council pressure. Every responsibility is yours. Tenants have crazy rights now. You still have all of those obligations to meet. Yeah, a tenant can just rent your house, a week later stop paying rent, take 2, 3, 4 months to get them out, and then you've got the councils at the end of that saying, you know, just coaching them to just stay because it's easier for them, and they know the court process takes so long that you can stay in that property for free until you go to court. Telling you, is absolutely stacked against landlords. But the positives of being a landlord take decades, not years. So if you hold the property for 20, 30 years, you're obviously going to see the appreciation. Tenants will slowly pay down your mortgage, which is obviously nice. Single lets are predictable if you have good tenants. And then you have the legacy of that as well that you can pass down to your children. But that takes decades. And that is the full list. Just those 4. Long-term wealth, equity growth, stability, and legacy. All of which don't help you become financially free. So most people thinking about either saving up for a buy-to-let or refinancing your current home to go and buy a buy-to-let have one thing in common. They want to earn more money. They essentially want to replace their job or replace their income, not be so reliant on a job, and buy back their time. But why would you tie up 40 to 60,000? Take on all of that debt, lock up your cash for years just to earn 2, 3, maybe if you're pushing it, £400 profit a month. You're going to carry all that risk, you're going to fight the government's policies, deal with tenants, deal with the councils, deal with all the changes, and then just take decades to feel free. There is another way. And it all sounds like hopes and dreams, and this is a typical sales pitch, right? And there is another way, but there actually is. And it's a lot faster, it's a lot smarter, it's a lot easier. It's the modern way. Control properties instead of owning them. So what I do, what my students do, is a thing called rent to rent. You rent a property, you control it, and you make more money from that property than you pay in rent. And the best thing is there's no mortgage, there's no solicitors, there's no stamp duty, there's no buying. You just control it and you make profit, and you make a lot more profit per property than you would buy to let. And here are the 4 rent-to-rent models in plain English. So number 1 is you've got rent to service accommodation. This is essentially Airbnb. So you're going to rent the property, you're going to list it on Airbnb and booking.com. Guests are going to book per night at a premium. So you might bring in £3,000 worth of revenue. The rent might be £1,400. The bills might be £600-700. You keep the difference. Then you've got another model called rent-to-rent HMO. So you're going to rent a whole house, a whole student accommodation, and then you're going to rent the rooms out individually. You only go for compliant houses though, ones with a HMO license already. All of the fire compliance, smoke alarms, you name it, it's all there. And the total amount of rent that you collect is more than what you pay the landlord. So you might be paying $2,200 to a landlord, but the combined income is $3,600 minus the bills, and the difference is yours. And the average HMO profit is about £700 per month. Then you have rent to social housing. So you will onboard a provider, meet their requirements by renting the property they're looking for. You're going to give it to the care provider. They pay you a guaranteed rent on a monthly basis for up to like 5, maybe 7, maybe even 10 years. They fill it, they manage it, they maintain it, so you'll get paid even if the house is empty. Then you have rent-to-rent deal sourcing. So you're going to find these rent-to-rent opportunities, whether it's a serviced accommodation, a HMO, or a social housing deal. You're going to package it all up into a very nicely put together PDF, and then you can sell it to investors. Then you get paid a sourcing fee. The average sourcing fee is £3,000. You'll have no property to manage, no tenants to manage, no guests to communicate with, just £3,000 paid up front. Thank you very much. So £40,000 locked, £300 profit, mortgage stress, government pressure, tenant problems, years to scale, slow income. Then if we go over to here, to rent, you've got low startup costs, fast cash flow, $700 to $1,500 profit per deal. No mortgage, no Section 24. It's scalable, it's flexible, freedom in months, not decades. So this is why the future is in controlling properties instead of owning them. Not with this government, not with these regulations, not in this economy. It's very little point in buying properties if your goal is to become financially free or to earn extra money. Do rent to rent, become financially free, then work on building wealth. Not skip straight to building wealth if you're in full-time employment and you only have enough for one buy-to-let. It's almost silly to tie up tens of thousands of pounds to make £500 max profit on a monthly basis. It just doesn't compute anymore. Here's how it all pans out. Labour squeezes landlords, so landlords raise their rents. Tenants will now suffer. Families will struggle, which will lead to savings are pretty much non-existent, which keeps people from escaping their jobs. And the cycle continues, and that is what makes you think that's why they do it. So Labour tries to punish landlords, so landlords pass the cost to tenants, and tenants end up being trapped. So everyone loses. But the general public see the government blaming landlords, but actually the government are not blaming landlords. They're passing the responsibility to the landlords to blame tenants. So the whole cycle of the UK hating on landlords, where really they should be hating the government. And I think they actually are. And the media keeps this whole thing alive. The old path is well and truly broken. And the new one is 100% in controlling assets, not buying them. So if you want to get started, if you want to know how to get started, where to get, like all of these things that might now be in your head, I created an online free training. It is on YouTube. You can just click here and you can go watch the whole 8-part online free training that I created just for you guys.